So thank you, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm a chapter director here at Startup Grind, and I would love to do a quick intro about what we do. So before I go into what we do, how many of us are attending a Startup Grind event for the first time? Startup Grind virgins. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to do like a quick intro, and we'll get into the order of the day. Yeah, thank you. So, Startup Grind is a global community. Yeah, next slide. Thank you. And it's the world's largest community of startup founders, innovators, and creators. So, we are a community that is based everywhere. So, every major city has a Startup Grind chapter. So, it gives the community a more like an homogeneous feel. So, for example, let's say you go on vacation to, say, Dubai. You see a Startup Grind chapter there. You go to San Francisco, that's literally the HQ of Startup Grind. You go to Lagos, where I'm from, there's a Startup Grind chapter there, right? So it gives you an opportunity to blend into the community easily. So for people building companies that need to go to market easily, they're able to enter other communities. So we also do flagship conferences. I'm going to be talking more about that. And we do smaller events like this. I think this is the smallest event we've had this year. But yeah, we do cool events like this as well. So yeah, next slide. Thank you. So before we go into the event, we like to talk about our key values. So these are things that hold us together. So it's important that we discuss them. So the first thing is that you help others, you give first, you make friends. So what does that mean? It means that when you're talking to people, when you're having conversation with people you're meeting for the first time, always be eager to help, always be eager to help others before selling anything, always be eager to make friends before trying to connect on LinkedIn, know them, know their names or something first, right? So that way it gives the community an extra feel, and it makes people feel welcome. Thank you. And this is our team. So we've got Peter, and that's me over there. And we've got Gabriel, who's not here with us today. I've got Matt and Eninor. So that's Matt over there, and that's lovely Eninor. Yeah, thank you. And what else? So this is where to find us. We've got, Twitter page, Instagram, LinkedIn. So if you want to get information about cool events like this every month, and that's the best place to be. We've also got a YouTube page. So it's like a playlist of all of our events year over year. So since the beginning of the year, we've hosted amazing speakers. We've done amazing events with different thematic focus. So that's where you get a repository of all of our past events, including this one. Yeah, thank you. So early on, I know this introduction is already getting too long. I'm so sorry. Earlier on, I talked about our flagship conference. So our flagship conference is happening in April, and that's the date, April 29th to 30th in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley. So I attended the one this year in April, and we had some entourage, picked amazing founders, amazing partners from London, took them to San Francisco. I want to do the same this year. So we're announcing it early. So anyone that wants to plan or be a part of that trip, could let us know. So next slide. Thank you. I'm so sorry for sorry we don't have clicker today. So that's the reason why. So what you expect at a startup delegation, you get an opportunity to go global, right? You network with a 5,000 plus attendee list, from 30 plus countries and 40 industries. So imagine Startup Grind events like this happening in Shanghai, happening in Bali, happening in city, everywhere, coming together to Silicon Valley. So that's the kind of value you'd get. And, investor matchmaking, land in the US, and industry insight, and a global community. I've talked about that earlier. Education is majorly for organizations, like government organization, and partners, industry partners. Maybe you have a startup focused company, or you have you're running an accelerator program or an incubation program. You want to give founders in your program some access to global investors. So that's what it's for. So it propels startups for success. And these are our success stories, right? So you get to, these are what people are saying and how much they've been able to raise from being a part of that delegation. And this is the eligibility criteria for the kind of startups we're looking for. You have to be tech driven, scalable and repeatable business model, website like MVP, literally, revenue and some bit of traction. So this is not a good fit for agencies, consultancy businesses, or maybe traditional business like maybe mom and pop shops, right? So those are not the kind of business we're looking for. And yeah, this is the agenda for today. And I'm going to hand over to Eleanor to give some shout to our partners. So let's give her a round of applause, please.
Thanks, Sam. Really, really excited to be here today with everyone. And I love this community because it really gives visibility to founders and it also connects people, as Sam said, on a very human level, just to give and to make friends. So great to be here. And all of this would not be possible without our lovely and amazing partners. A big, big thank you to our first partner, Howard Kennedy. And I want to invite Alex.
Hey everyone, I won't speak very long. Just a sponsor to say thank you very much. We're very, very grateful to be here and sponsoring the event. We love Startup Grind. We love the atmosphere and the way everyone relates to each other. I like particularly that you were saying that there's chapters all over the world. It makes us all feel like monks, right? Like, I'm not entirely sure that the analogy stops there because monks are all focused on one thing. We're all focused on making the businesses work. They're also all praying for stuff, and everyone has been praying for investment from people. And monks really like beer. So we have that in common as well. The other thing was to say we have a small startup program ourselves called Ignite. It essentially means that we give up our profits with a reduction in legal fees. We also provide you with, in addition to legal support, access to some of our office space if you need it. Quite often we've got people that find that they're working in a WeWork or something, they don't want to have meetings with investors or banks, so they'll come into our offices instead. We're very happy to host you, obviously subject to availability, terms apply. But in addition to that, there's networks. So the networks we provide, and we've had a client within the Ignite network that came to us a short while ago. We put them in touch with an investor. They received a 7-figure sum. Well, we're going through the motions of it right now, but the networks really work, and we'd love to involve you in that. Most of all, though, we're just grateful to be here, and we love the vibe and the way everyone works together. We like the fact that you're building a relationship here. It's not about finding an investor and leaving. You know, it's Startup Grind, not Startup Grinder. It's one of the most important things. So thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so yeah, that's also one of the things we do. We try to like look for partners that are, in connection with our values. Do we have anyone from Carter in the room today? No. Okay, yeah. So we just announced a new partnership with Carter, and I'm just going to run through what they do. And yeah, so why do we look for partnerships like this? So we look for partnerships like this to help startups in our ecosystem or in the community to benefit from companies. So literally I go out, a lot of everyone on the team also, we go out to like hunt for deals and like things that can make it's easy for founders to like build company, do what they do best, build companies. So Carter is one of the companies that we recently headhunted to come support what we do, support our vision. So what they do is that they're like an equity management platform that help you build like a cap table management system for your startup or for any business actually. So next slide. And yeah, oh my God, that's a lot. Next slide. Okay, yeah, so this is what I want to talk about. So they do cap tables, valuation, gap compliance, EMI shares. And the major thing they do that I have benefited from is that they also help you set up the SEIS, EIS, investment vehicle for your company. So you can, if you're looking to do that, they've got like a very good deal. I think $25 per month. So they built it like a SaaS model, literally like a SaaS model where you get like a platform to do everything relating to your startup startup setup, company setup. So yeah, they're gonna be coming to our event often to like talk more about what they do. And they've also currently got like a 20% discount on all of their services for Startup Grind members. So you get to benefit from that as well. So thank you. Next slide. Yeah. So this is the final slide. Thank you. And this is about startup Google Cloud Startup Hub. I don't know if anyone was at our last event at Google Cloud's office. Yeah, I think I see a number of faces. So we are currently running a partnership with Google to host events at their spaces. So if you go to our website, you see their events on our website. So currently there's an event happening this Friday. If you're looking to like get into raising money, fundraising, and connecting with VC, it's definitely going to be a good event for you to attend. So without any further ado, I invite Matt and Farah up on stage. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Lamb and I'm part of the Startup Grind team here, part of the London chapter, and I also work alongside Alex and the good team here from Howard Kennedy as well. And I have the pleasure of interviewing Farah Kabir here on stage. So Farah is the co-founder of Hanx. And Farah's probably better placed than me to actually do the intro. So would you like to give us a bit of a sort of elevator pitch, Farah, on what Hanx is and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much for coming and taking time out of your evening. I'm Farah. I'm one half of the co-founding team, Hanx. Hanx is a sexual and intimate wellness brand designed with women in mind. We're here to connect the milestones of women's health right the way from your first time to your first child, menopause and beyond, with gynecologically backed products that are kinder to the body and kinder to the planet.
Amazing.
Was that in 30 seconds?
That was within, well done. We always encourage people at Startup Grind to get that elevator pitch nailed but that was beautiful. Well done, Farah. And you mentioned your co-founder there, Sarah. So Sarah, and I think if anyone hasn't been on the Hanx website, do check it out. It's absolutely beautiful. But there's a line on it which I absolutely love, and it is a gynecologist and an investment banker walk into a bar. How did you meet, Sarah? Where did that come about? It's not your usual sort of co-founder relationship.
Yeah, so Sarah and I actually went to school together. We grew up together up north in York, and we actually met in chemistry across the Bunsen burners, and that was the first time that we'd connected, the tender age of 15, I think. And we've been firm friends since, so we've known each other for such a long time. Literally lived in the village next door to each other and couldn't keep away from each other, so I ended up at the same university and we lived together. So Sarah and I actually went to Durham. I studied finance, and then Sarah studied medicine and finished her medicine degree at Newcastle University. So I'd say we're like family. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And that's, I guess, one of the main reasons why businesses fail, really, isn't it? It's the sort of co-founder disputes. Whenever it is a friend that close, it's always going to sort of aid the sort of stresses and the peaks and troughs of startup life. Many in the room tonight have only sort of started their growth journey, so we have probably a mix of sort of pre-seed and I don't know if anyone's later than Series A here in the room. Do we have any later stage founders? No. So with that in mind, given that most people in the room are going to be sort of facing the challenges of setting up a business, trying to, find traction and product market fit, what were the hardest moments when you set up Hanx, and, how did you, I guess, overcome those challenges?
So, I mean, it was an idea at very first, and it was born out of an awkward bump-in that I had with my boss on a lunch break because I was walking down the condom aisle and just picking up whatever I needed in the pharmacy for later that week, which included condoms. And that awkward moment is what sort of prompted me to think, well, hang on a minute, why do I feel embarrassed to take control of my sexual health, but I don't feel embarrassed to take control of other aspects of my health, such as beauty, etc. And so that idea, I was talking to Sarah about this awkward bump in, and she was a gynae doctor at the time. She was seeing women coming into clinics with hard to treat irritations and STIs from the products they were using. So we kind of had this light bulb moment there and then. And I think a level of naivety is probably what kept us going, because we think, oh my God, this is a great idea. Why has no one targeted women in sexual wellness first? Why are these products garishly packaged? What does that mean? And most people would see that as a real challenge and be like, there's a reason why no one else is doing it. I think that the healthy level of naivety and probably our friendship is what got us thinking, no, this is really exciting. We need to, evenings, weekends, figure out how we create this product and what we do. So I think, coming back to your question about, the pain points and what tips, I mean, early on, we spoke to as many people as we could about this idea. There was that initial moment where you think, oh, should I tell anyone about this idea because they may copy it or it's not a perfect idea product yet? And actually, on reflection, I wish I'd spoken to more and more people early on, because ultimately, by speaking to various people, you get feedback, you get insights. They also might know someone who might be able to connect you, whether that's with manufacturing, marketing, etc. So definitely network and speak to as many people as you can about your idea, and that will also help build your research, whether there's a real market product fit, if there are too many competitors, what does that look like? So really do some landscape analysis to figure out whether you're serving something different.
Amazing. And, I guess that's a sort of plug for why you should attend Startup Grind type events, to get that feedback and be able to have a bit of a safe space to bounce ideas around. Was there ever any, taking on, I guess, the big brands, the Durexes of this world and so forth? What was that like? Like, what was your mindset like at the time whenever you're thinking, do we go for this? It's a big brand to take on sort of head to head. Was that something that you ever had to, was that ever sort of a challenging point in your sort of founder journey?
All the time. Yeah. It still is. I mean, we were just so shocked that nobody was doing this in women's health, or certainly within sexual wellness for women. There were a few players in the US, but no one in the UK or across Europe at the time. And that kind of gave us an indication that actually, well, if the US are doing it and they're generally a few years ahead, there's something there. So that kind of kept us going, that there's clearly a market. And to be honest, we just rolled with the punches. So we have ruffled a few feathers with the big dogs before. And actually, it's really exciting, like that whole David v. Goliath move. And, as a startup, we're quick to move, we're nimble, often things that bigger corporates can't react to or do as quickly. So yeah, it certainly was scary when we initially started, but I think we were overridden by the excitement as to how many women we could serve with this proposition, and that it was truly changing something in the space.
I love that. It's bold and brave. Yeah, hard to beat. There's a few health founders that are setting up businesses in the health space today. What would be the one lesson that you give them, or one bit of advice?
Find experts. I'm super lucky to have Sarah as my co-founder, and she's a gynae doctor. So, she knows firsthand. She's done everything from treating STIs to delivering babies, so the full reproductive system of women's health. And so it's really important as part of our, that authority and that trust in the space, having someone medical who is head of products and actually builds these products that women want. So if you're in the healthcare space, definitely, if you're not the person or the medic or the clinical person, finding those people who can help support your business, whether that's in a co-founder role or otherwise.
Yeah, great advice there. One thing we haven't chatted about yet is money. And it's, a hot topic at all of these events, how to land that first check and then those subsequent checks after that. How did you start Hanx? Were you bootstrapping? Did you have some angel investment? How did that process go?
Yeah, so when we thought of the idea, Sarah and I actually bootstrapped, and that was because we wanted to get the product out to market. And the reality is we didn't actually know about angel investment or where to go. And people often think, oh, well, I worked at Goldman Sachs, therefore I've got a Rolodex of finance contacts and I know exactly what to do. The reality is I didn't, and a lot of it was learned on the job and networking. So we did bootstrap to get the product to market, and then at that point we were already speaking to anyone that would listen to us, so VCs, angel investors, and we found a lot of these people through networking events. So not to plug you guys again, but this is a great example of where you can meet someone who might know someone who might want to invest in your business. And then we did take on some angel investment, and we've only been angel backed to date, which I'm really proud of. So we've been going for about 7 years, and we've not taken any institutional capital as such until recently with Morgan Stanley, but that's a slightly different process, which I can talk about. So yeah, it's been a really exciting journey for us, having angel investors who are a combination of people that we've met through our network, but also our customers. And what I love about that is our customers feel like they're part of the journey, and they're actually advocates for our brand because they've used our products and they share with their friends and family.
How did you go about turning customers into investors? Was it just, via email marketing, or, how did you go about that?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. Customers have reached out to us before and said, do you take investment? Are you raising? And that was such a nice moment for us, because they obviously believe in the product, the mission, the vision, and they're willing to part with their own capital to support that. But we were always toying with the idea of a crowd cube or some kind of crowd fundraising, because we're a brand and brands do quite well, especially if you're product based. But we've always been very 50-50 about it. So we actually pushed to our email database and asked them, if we crowd cubed, would you be interested in investing, and at what quantum? And that had so much interest that we managed to whip up a small investment round with just our consumers using Odin. We didn't actually end up going down a formal crowd cube place. So yeah, always speak to your customers. You never know.
It's amazing. Yeah, well, bravo for that. Reminded me whenever you were speaking there of the brand Tallow and Ash that started last year, and I think it was June last year they set up and did a crowdfunding round, raised about 1.2 million, but actually their own clients are the biggest advocates. They're constantly on my social media, just really advocating for the brand, and it's just insane watching their growth, as it is with Hanx as well. So it's the way to do it, I think, with consumer goods.
Thank you. Yeah, and Tallow and Ash are a great example. What I love about what they do is they're so honest on social media about their journey, what they're trying to do, how they speak to their customers, and I think we can resonate with Hanx as well. We really, our tone of voice is real and relatable. We don't gloss over the realities of being a woman in the modern day. So that translates into our content, our social media, what we offer, everything from TikTok to Instagram. It's very tongue-in-cheek but relatable.
Yeah, I love that. Just on the point there, so given it's a product for women and so forth, women tend to struggle to raise money, and if you look at the stats, women of color even more so, and it's a serious issue in the UK and globally, I would say. Did that ever was that ever an issue for yourself whenever you were going to raise, or were there any shocking moments that you faced on the route to landing the investments?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started raising investment, I had heard about the disparities, but I didn't actually believe it. Mainly because, I'd worked at an investment bank where, you would usually think it's male dominated, but actually it was a great place to work, and, I was supported by my team and male bosses, etc. So I never faced that disparity in finance, and I just didn't think it would happen when it came to fundraising. But the reality is it does exist. The stats are there, and I'm a perfect example of someone who has struggled to fundraise. The stats you're referring to is that less than a penny of every pound of VC money actually goes to a female founder. Yeah. And then it's even less if you're a woman of colour. So I'm screwed. But I mean, it's really tricky. Like there's a lot of talk and chatter about what we can be doing. But the reality is people need to put their money where their mouth is and actually invest and support and back diverse founders. We don't need any more reports or stats. We need backable investors and money behind that. And I hope that the more people that talk about this, whether it's founders or funders, the more noise we can create to activate change and have, people in decision-making roles, whether they're men or women, to actually support this movement, support more female founders and diverse founders.
I think it was back in September, you went through the Morgan Stanley Inclusive Ventures Accelerator. How have they been helping you, in terms of, fundraising and sort of strategizing with Hanx going forward? What's the sort of support they've been giving?
They've been fantastic. So, they're a huge institution. People thought I'd gone over to the dark side, going from Goldman Sachs to Morgan Stanley. But they've been fantastic. So they run a great program through their Inclusive Ventures arm that supports 10 companies through this accelerator. They also invest in your company. And alongside that, they work with you on what the next phase of your business might look like and support you. And they have a huge network of advisors, whether that's in finance, tech, etc., that they'll bring to the table with whatever support you need. So it feels like a mini MBA in a way. It's quite full on, but in a really exciting way, like steep learning curve. And they've been very hands-on. So we've really benefited from the program. We're about 3 months in and it's gone by so quickly. We don't want it to end.
You know, so we've covered sort of setting up Hanx and the fundraising journey to date. We haven't actually delved into any of the sort of the products and, you know, where you we touched on the idea of, where Hanx came from. And this is a bit of a personal question, what did your parents and your friends think when you turned around and said, I'm leaving my safe investment banking job and I'm going to start a condom business? That must have, raised a few eyebrows around the table.
Yeah, absolute shock. It was like an episode, if anyone watches EastEnders on Christmas Day, usually like the shocker episode of what on earth has London done to you? So I'm the youngest of 4. My family are quite entrepreneurial. All my family, they have like side hustles and businesses. And so it was always within my nature, but I never thought I wanted to set up a company. I was always quite happy working for someone else. So, this idea came up and I thought it was a great opportunity. So when I did eventually tell them about this idea, which was on Christmas Day, around the table with the family, they were already saying, what ideas, property, etc. And I was like, well, actually, I do have this idea. And I said it. I tried not to use the words sex or sexual or condoms as such, but it's in women's health, and I'd kind of prepared my mum with this a few months back, and she was really supportive. She was like, it doesn't matter what religion or culture you're from, people have sex, and it's women's health. It's a wider mission. But the minute I said exactly what I was doing with Sarah, they thought that there was something in the water in London and that I needed to come back up north, and what on earth are you doing leaving your well-paid job? But then when I explained the mission and actually what we're trying to serve here and the fact that no one else had been doing this and it's really exciting, they totally got on board, and they've been incredibly supportive despite coming from a community, I'm Bangladeshi Muslim, where you don't talk about sex. It's quite taboo. So they've been pretty liberal and supportive. Yeah, quite refreshing.
That's incredible. Yeah, well, bravo, the Kabir family there on that one. And, given that you've built a business in a, taboo market, which is just ridiculous that it is still considered a taboo marketplace. Were there any challenges that you would face that, the rest of your entrepreneurial family or, friends that are entrepreneurs, don't face issues around, in terms of the market, given that it is, within the space?
I mean, look, when Sarah and I first thought of the idea and went to speak to investors about it, we got laughed out the door a lot, mainly through from VCs, because they were like, what do you two young girls know about a male-dominated industry? That one big player has owned to date. And we have had some views from certain old male investors about us being female founders in an adult space, and what's that mean? It's not adult, it's actually health. And it's so surprising that something like condoms would therefore mean that it's adult content, and it's really challenging, but I think I've built a lot of grit and resilience over the years to know who are the right investors and who are not. And I can tell quite early on if they have quite sniggering views on what we're trying to produce and create and our vision, or they don't get it because there's one big player, then they're not the investors for us. And that's not something that comes easily if you're starting out in your business. You just learn over time. But it took kissing a lot of frogs to get to that point. But yeah, it has been very challenging, the viewpoints of being in what is, sexual wellness. Yeah.
Are there any examples where you've, been able to turn around a skeptical investor or a skeptical retailer and, got them back on the Hanx side?
Yeah. We have an amazing investor, and I won't name him, but when we got introduced to him, we described the business and he loved the idea, but he just couldn't quite get round whether there was a huge market for it. And he said, and maybe that's because I'm not a woman, I don't know. And so we had another call, where we answered more of his questions. And he was like, yeah, love the brand, love the mission, like might invest, not sure. And his wife jumped in. We didn't realize she was listening. She was like, you need to back them. She was like, do you understand what they're doing? Like, she'd worked for a sexual health charity. She was also a woman. She'd seen it firsthand. And so that was really refreshing. We didn't know that she was in the room. We'd never met her, but kind of just showed that, like, on first glance, yes, we're a women's health brand. It doesn't mean say we're alienating men. Actually, like, men can be allies to this and invest. And the wife actually turned around and he did invest and has invested in a couple of rounds into our business, which has been amazing. So, I'm a firm believer that, a no isn't always a no. I'm not annoying, but a no could be a maybe in future. What is it that could turn that around? And we did get a lot of no's from retailers when we first launched. It took us 18 months to get into Boots. And I think it's about persistence, having that sort of fire in your belly and not taking no for an answer.
Absolutely love that. There was an amazing founder that she actually pitched at Startup Grind a few months back at our Pitch to PR event. And she had this fascinating story where she was going and approaching investors for her first check, and they turn around and say, you're too early for us. All the standard, sorts of messages. You're too early. Come back to us after you've done your first round, blah, 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 blah. And she turned around and said, well, if you actually believe in the brand and you believe in our journey, I want you to invest as an individual. Put an angel check in, and only then will I allow you to then go in at a later stage. Yeah. And it's worked. And, she's brought in some amazing investors and actually has been able to leverage that to then, help with further rounds and help the business scale. So yeah, absolutely love it. Love that path. And the brand started off as a vegan condom brand, and you've been sort of expanding with product development and so forth. So you went into lubricant, and now you're going into sort of like contraception and a few other products as part of that range. How did you decide, where to go, in terms of product development?
A lot of it was community driven, honestly. So when we first launched in sexual wellness, we knew what we wanted, i.e. vegan, sustainable branding that was, similar to beauty standards rather than bright red, garishly packaged products. And that was because we surveyed 2,000 women. Even before we launched the brand, we surveyed 2,000 women to find out exactly what they wanted from a condom brand, what was stopping them from buying such products, and if they were to, what would it look like, what would the price point be, etc. And that's what led us to create our hero product, Hanx Condom. So we use the same guiding principles for lubricants, etc. But about 2.5-3 years in during COVID, we found that actually a lot of our customers couldn't get access to GP appointments, or they couldn't get access, to sexual health clinics, etc., or even get the products that they needed from the pharmacy, because in the peak of COVID, you didn't want to queue up. And we went back to our community and we said, what do you need from us right now? Beyond condoms and lube in the peak of COVID, how can we support you? And so convenience and access to healthcare needs came up. And so we launched the pharmacy online. So actually you can come to our site and you can get prescription birth control, over 20 types that you would get from your GP, you can actually get from us. And provided there's no contraindications, we dispense the same day. We also do that for Plan B, vaginal health treatments, and we most recently launched into weight management. So Wegovy and Manjaro. Again, what we found is, like, in the first 3 years of our business, we weren't just serving women who had sexual wellness needs. There was actually a real gap there across wider women's health, and it is so fragmented. And so our mission really, truly is to connect the milestones of women's health from your first time to your first child. And so we have a combination of products that we manufacture and create, such as the condoms, the lubricants, the supplements, all co-created with Sarah, our Chief Product Officer and doctor. And then we have the prescription products, where when people need medically backed products that to be prescribed for, they can get them from us. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want women to be able to use our platform, whether that's for products or services or content, at every stage, whether they're a sister, mother, daughter, aunt.
And I think, getting that customer feedback as early as possible, or in your case, before launching is so critical. Is that feedback loop something that you're still leaning into now as you scale Hanx? Is it how do you go about getting that feedback today?
So we do quarterly surveys where we ask our customers, what do they like? What do they not like? What's feedback? What do they want next from us? What kind of products are they looking for? Which is super helpful. We also have like individual feedback surveys where, if someone's bought from us X number of weeks ago, we'll ask them to check in. How was it? Have they heard of the other products, etc.? And then we also do focus groups. So with most of our product launches that we've manufactured, we've had customers we've had they've come to our offices and we've had pizza, drinks, and we actually, when we did our lubricant launch, we had 24 different lubricants with all the labels off, a bit like Big Brother. And they literally tested each and every one on their skin for feel, scent, etc. So our customers really get involved right the way up to product launch, which I love. That's the best part of it, because then we truly know that what we're creating is truly serving a need.
I love that. So you've heard it here first. Bribe your customers with pizza and you'll get solid feedback. Yeah, absolutely love that. You have been, so Hanx started off, it was very much UK centric. You've been expanding into the US. Was that a natural progression? Was that something that you said, let's enter a market with the scale of the US, or was it driven by sort of customer feedback and demand?
Customer demand. So US is huge, and obviously we're a UK-based team predominantly, but we found time and time again our second biggest traffic base was from the US, and we'd not spent a penny of investment in the US to date. So we're like, how are people hearing about us? Where is this traffic coming from? And then the second indicator for us was that US retailers were reaching out to us, asking us to stock the product. And at that point, we weren't FDA approved. So for us, we were thinking, okay, there's an organic market here. We've not spent much in marketing at all. There's a real opportunity. So we did a bit of risk analysis to find out, okay, what's the minimum it would take for us to be able to launch in the US? And we did, with great success. So we have a US entity, we've got a US site, so you can buy our products from us in the US. We've got a logistics set up. So it's going pretty well organically, actually. And it just shows that the demand for women's health products that are sustainable and kinder to the body and planet isn't just a UK-centric thing. People in the US want that too.
Oh, that's incredible. And for those in the room or anyone watching on the stream, if they are thinking about moving or expanding into the US, is there anything that you'd say, to watch out for? Are there any hidden traps or, sort of things to avoid or watch out for when entering the market?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what business you're in. I can only speak from a healthcare lens, but it's heavily regulated in the US. And so you really need to have a good legal partner. I'm not plugging any particular legal partner, but there was one that was offering 30%, so discount. But it's really important to get a good legal partner because they understand firsthand the regulations. That's a perfect example of getting experts that you need for the business. And also budget heavily. We managed to do it on quite a lean budget, but we did go over budget. And I think that's just the reality when it comes to setting up an entity out there. The legal costs do rack up. And getting, as I mentioned earlier, getting the right experts. So if there's something that you don't understand about the US geography, find a network or an accelerator, speak to other founders that have launched in the US and get insights. Most founders are willing to share their expertise and support.
This is all, really fascinating stuff. And obviously, looking at the Hanx journey it's incredibly impressive. So yeah, well done to you and Sarah on building such a successful business. It's not easy. And a lot of founders get a bit of stick, for being a bit too, sort of goal focused, very sort of eye on the prize, and then often, the way in which they will manage and so forth sort of slips to the side. What is Farah's leadership style? How would your staff describe you if we were to go and survey them?
We do have a staff member in the room, so maybe you could ask. Not to put Megan on the spot. I think leading with kindness, and I say that because it's the experience that I had when I had my career at Goldman Sachs. My first boss was incredible. He always led with compassion. He was always giving credit where credit was due. So, I started as an associate, but I would always be called out for Farah did this work, etc., no matter who it was to. And I think I've learned a lot from my boss. It was Ian. He was great. But I think also leading with kindness, for sure. You don't know what's going on in someone's life. And how you can support them, and most of their life is spent in the workplace. If you can at least be a bit empathetic to understanding what their needs might be. Certainly in our team we have someone who is a carer, someone who's a mother, and it's about being able to offer flexibility. To me, so long as the work gets done, like it shouldn't really matter. You shouldn't have to be too rigid. So I think, leading with kindness, but I am also very black and white, so I can probably come across as quite blunt, which I could probably do with working on. So I don't think my leadership is perfect. I think I'm always learning.
And do you and Sarah ever play the good cop, bad cop sort of relationship with the co-founder setup?
I think Sarah's always good cop. I think Megan agrees. I think it falls quite naturally. Sarah and I have very complementary skill sets. So, firstly, I worked in finance, whereas Sarah's gynecology doctor. So our skill sets lend itself very well with our roles, but naturally we're quite different people, even though we're best friends. So, sadly, sometimes I fall into the bad cop role, even if I don't want to be.
Be careful after this. Right, so looking, I guess, ahead. So if we were having this conversation in 5 years' time, where will Hanx be?
Yeah, it's a really exciting and interesting question. I mean, we're at such an inflection point now because we've managed to build products at different life stages. So really it's now about scaling and penetrating both the UK market and the US market. For me, what excites me about Hanx is we've built such a large community at different stages. And so where I see Hanx going is leading on to clinical personalization. What can we offer our customers beyond just the products that we manufacture? How can we service them better? Whether that's through having medical consultations, personalized medication to suit their need and stage of health. So I really hope it's a household name, whether you're a sister, mother, aunt, daughter at different age or stage, that you feel comfortable coming to Hanx.
Amazing. Well, we'll be all supporting you from the sidelines, I'm sure. And then I guess the final question, what legacy do you want Hanx to leave for the women's wellness industry?
I mean, if we can get more men and women talking about such taboo topics, then I feel like a big part of our job is done. The fact that the biggest part for me is when we get customer emails, where they're saying they've change their sex lives, or the lubricant has helped with their menopause symptoms, etc. That to me, every time I'm like, then I've done my job, even if it's one customer. And I think one particular moment that really stood out for me was I was invited to 10 Downing Street to talk about healthcare disparities with women from minority backgrounds, and we all went around this round table and said who we were. And when I said who I was, this woman next to me slipped me a note that said, "Your lubricant saved my marriage and my pregnancy." And it was the best. It was honestly so refreshing, like the setting of that. But it was so amazing to hear that actually, like, no matter what your background or who you are or how high profile, like, our products and our brand and our tone of voice is really changing women's health for the better. So, I hope we can continue to live on that legacy.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I really hope you did go and get that framed, as yeah, that's definitely a great souvenir. So
I think it's on our Instagram as a tile, like the actual pic. I took a picture of it, and it's on our Instagram, and the woman was happy for us to put it on Instagram. So, yeah.
amazing. Love that. Well, so many thanks, Farah. That was so interesting. And yeah, if everyone could give Farah a huge round of applause, that'd be amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Does anyone have a question for Farah?
The first one, yeah. Hi, nice meeting you, and amazing talk. So I came to this not knowing anything about Hanx, literally, and I slowly warmed up like it was sex tech, health, women's health, whatever. So I have a couple of questions. The minor one is like it was not clear like what's the ESP for women in your product? Like what's the difference between women going and buying the current products and yours? Like, why did you go for it and what does it offer? It was not very clear to me. And the second main one is like, you come from, originally from Bangladesh, I come from India, and it's fine that there's the taboo and women's health here is still like something to address. But if you compare that with in those countries, it's like another, like there is no education at all. Forget sexual, like even menstrual health, they don't even have access to pads, and NGOs doing that. So if you have any plans to address or do anything in that market, I like that, yeah.
Great questions. So with Hanx, with our initial product range within sexual wellness, we spotted a gap in the market because the products that were offered were targeting men only. They were garishly packaged, promoting a man's conquest with names like Johnny Big Boy on the front of the pack in bright gold and red. And the actual ingredients in the products were not transparent. So if you look in some of the mainstream products on the market, they have ingredients like anesthetics in them, which all these products have always been created with a man's pleasure in mind. So anesthetics are better for male pleasure, actually can be quite damaging to women's vaginal health. So irritants. So all of that combined, we knew there was a huge opportunity to serve women. And actually 40% of purchases of condoms in the UK are actually made by women. So that's half the market that have just never been addressed. So for us, that was our core mission, creating gynecologically backed products that were kind to the body and kind to the planet, and in a taboo busting manner. I think since then, as I mentioned, sort of going into the pharmacy space, we want to offer convenience and choice to our customers. Not everyone will be using condoms for the rest of their lives, but they may go into hormonal birth control, etc. So the pharmacy angle really adds the choice. And then your second question around, we would love to support where we can. We're a small but mighty team, but we do support in the UK. We support with charities like Sexplain and Sexpression, and also Gynae Cancer, so the Lady Garden Foundation. But we don't do as much outside of the UK. So if there's any particular charities you'd recommend, or please put us in touch. We'd love to support where we can.
Brilliant story. And actually, I was just talking with my godson yesterday about Hanx condoms and lubricant. And so I forwarded him the email that I got with my Black Friday discount so that he could buy it for him and his girlfriend, because remarkably, he's refusing to use condoms. But I'm pretty sure once he's used yours, he'll be on the right track. But my question was, Hanx as a name sounds quite masculine. So I wondered how you came up with the name.
Yeah, it's short for hanky panky. So when Sarah and I were younger, like we used to hear it a lot. My dad used to say like, no hanky panky in his accent, but just generally about, us going to town and things. So when we thought of the idea, that same night we thought of the idea, we were settled on the name. We were like, Hanx, short for hanky panky. So yeah.
Great story. I love someone that's come from banking into the world of healthcare, so I really have respect for that. Along the last 7 years, what would be the one thing that you would change? will be different to say, okay, we made a mistake. What could we really have done to take the business to another level so much quicker?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I make lots of mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. I think probably not. I think having more confidence in my beliefs and thoughts. I think when you're early on in the journey, you know, speaking to VCs and investors, it was quite scary, and you think they know it all, and sometimes they don't. And that's been proven over the years that we've built our business. You know, they'll say, oh, you need to be a subscription only business, and actually we're not a subscription only business, and that really works for our customers because we offer them choice and they're not tied down. And so I think I wish I believed in myself a bit more early on in the journey, but I appreciate that requires a level of experience and confidence. But we do make mistakes all the time, and that's just being human. Like, it's okay. Like, I'll give you an example. Someone on our team accidentally put another 0 on a lubricant order, and we literally had thousands of lubricants that we needed to shift ASAP. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Slipping and sliding everywhere with all that lube. So we do, and it's human. It's about what you do with it. Like, how do you learn, and how you react to it.
So I was going to ask. Obviously, the US went quite well, the launch and the growth there. What about LATAM? Are you going to be aiming at South America soon? Because there's a lot of activity over there but startups kind of growing there, and I can imagine women's health in South America is going to be huge, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity, and we have actually had people reach out to us before asking if we can partner with them, or are we planning on launching direct to consumer. It's definitely an opportunity, but right now the US is still so huge for us, so probably in the near future we'll focus on the US. But it's not a no to LATAM. There's a huge opportunity there, just not right this year or next year, because this year's over.
You did mention about how you started, right? What was the time frame from the initial idea coming to mind and you actually like bootstrapping everything? My second question is, in the US, when you went to the US, did you have to tweak some of your products for that particular market? I know you talked about the legal criteria you had to think about, but were there other things that you tailored for that market specifically?
Yeah, so I'll answer your second question first. So some of our products are medical devices, so it's super important. We have to conform to the regulations. So we had to get FDA approval for our products, which is why the legals came in really handy, and having a strong team that understood that. And that did take time. And there are certainly some, so we only sell some products in the US. We're slowly rolling out more products, but at the minute we don't have the prescription pharmacy offering in the US. Again, different regulatory requirements there. And then your first question was how long it took from idea to bring to market. So Sarah and I were doing a lot of evening and weekend work to really understand whether we could do this and if there was a market for it. We didn't just think of the idea and quit our jobs and then move into space. We took our time. We spoke to as many people as we could, and we researched. But all in all, I would probably say around 12 to 14 months before we got the product actually to market. Now, that could be quicker for other startups. It's just because, again, we were a medical device product. It was super important that we had the right manufacturer and the right approvals in place.
Thank you very much for the intro. I was just curious to hear how your lifestyle has changed from having an investment banking job to being a founder.
You'd be really surprised, but I don't get any sleep now. I thought I didn't get much sleep in investment banking, but I get way less sleep now. No, I mean, it's so varied and so different to, no 2 days are the same when you work for a startup, and you're literally the jack of all trades. And if you don't know something, you just have to learn it on the job or find an expert that can help you. So it's different in that sense. I think I do miss, being part of a bigger institution means that you have access to more resource, you've got a bigger team, that camaraderie, and often being in a smaller startup, it can feel a little bit isolated, especially when you're going up against the big dogs in the space. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Like it was the best move I could have made.
I just wanted to make a comment rather than ask a question. And I am so pleased to hear that you've been so well supported by the men that you've worked with, especially in finance, because I've spoken to so many women that have had a very different experience. And it is together that we're going to make the change in the world. It's the only way. And just wanted to say that, really.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think you're right, together, like we need male allies in this. I know there's such a fine balance. Everything that's going on with female founders not getting backed, etc. You can take the extreme view and be like, I hate men, and this actually that's the wrong end. But you can also be very lax, and that's not right. It's finding that tone of voice in the middle of the road where actually we can change this by having women in leadership roles, in decision making roles, who can really champion this, but also having men as allies. I know there's a lot more that can be done, and I had a unique experience, but I'm really grateful for the boss that I did have.
Just a little bit about manufacturing, if you could tell. Like, did you outsource? Like, how did you go about it? My God, like, just the two of you and no funding, and like, how did you get like the product out? Like, think about manufacturing and all. Like, really amazing. I mean, if you could, just tell a little bit about that.
Can you see these bags under my eye?
You look lovely.
It's a really good question. I mean, we Googled and would speak to as many people as, and we actually emailed so many manufacturers, and the majority of them ignored us. And we had I think I had my Hotmail address still. So of course they were going to ignore us. They probably thought it was a scam. And I would just LinkedIn stalk and search for anyone who's mildly related. Like, I even looked at companies in the US who had done this and who they were linked. It does just require a lot of research and patience, and eventually finding the right manufacturer. Certainly for our first core products, that was really important, because a lot of these manufacturers are used to the archaic way where there's one big player. So they only produce for the pharmacies. They don't know any different, so we needed to work with a manufacturer that was willing to innovate with us. We knew what our customers wanted, no nasty chemicals. We wanted to create products that were kinder to the planet and to people. So we only wanted fair traded latex, for example. So once we had the criteria, we whittled it down to 2 or 3 manufacturers, and some couldn't do what we wanted them to do, and that was fine. We were willing to wait until we had the perfect manufacturing partner and product for that. But on reflection, it was just 2 crazy girls running around the place trying to get condoms in the market.
So you outsourced it. You don't have a manufacturing.
We don't have a manufacturing unit now. Thanks.
Amazing.
Thank you.